Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AwardsWatch Podcast. This is the film festival and award specific podcast. And it's me, Erik Anderson, your editor in chief of AwardsWatch. And I have with me, as usual, executive editor Ryan McQuade.
It's time for Telluride.
Oh my God. And associate editor Sophia Ciminello.
Hi, everyone. I unfortunately recognized that reference in real time as it was happening and regret everything immediately.
And we have a special guest who will be our guest and friend of the pod and of AwardsWatch, Christina Biro of Pop Culture Confidential.
Hello, everyone. Can't wait to see you up there in the mountain.
It's just right around the corner. And yes, we are talking Telluride right now. The last couple of weeks has been Toronto and Venice and New York unveiling their pretty stellar lineups. Great closers, great openers, great centerpieces, lots of world premieres, lots of movies. And as we get closer to Telluride, which we know famously does not reveal their lineup until the day of the festival, we do know a good amount of the films that will be there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Things that we think / know are going to world premiere. What we think is going to pop over from previous festivals, including Venice, which happens right on top of Telluride, same time, as well as Toronto, New York, and even as far back as Sundance from the beginning of the year. So I think let's kind of focus right now just on the world premieres that we can expect at Telluride this year. I'll throw out a couple and then maybe, just throw it to each of you guys of what you think is going to show up. We do know / think that Conclave is going to be a major world premiere. That is from Focus. It is showing up elsewhere, but we do know by designations that this is where it's going to start. And also, something I am a little surprised by, I guess, as a movie for Telluride, but Better Man, which is the Robbie Williams biopic where he is starring as himself. Fascinated for that. That is Paramount. That is a Christmas release.
Can't wait for you to see it.
I can't wait to see it.
I think this is going to be a big deal. I think just let him entertain us. I have to say, I think he's going to play himself. It's Michael Gracie, who did The Greatest Showman, and I think he knows what he's doing. Robbie Williams is so much fun. I've met him a few times on talk shows that I've worked on. He is the best talk show interview ever. If he comes there and gives us a show, it's going to be fun. He's very open with everything he's been through, all his hardships, and he can put on a really good show. I think that this has potential to be something. The big U.S. stardom also eludes him a bit. He's huge in Europe, one of the biggest, but never really got over that U.S. stardom edge. And I think this is what they might be looking for, and this could be fun. I'm not a huge Robbie Williams fan music-wise, but I think you guys, you're making these faces over there on Zoom, but
I'm sorry.
Not Erik.
Christina, I am in total agreement with you, Christina. I think you are exactly right. I think it is going to be, big and messy and a crazy musical, but I feel like he is. Yeah, he's going to have
the year of that with Emilia Pérez. We need some fun. They're crazy musicals all around. If he puts on a show in the streets like they did last year, maybe not, but anything he does musically, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
that's true.
He's going to have a U.S. breakthrough, 40 years later. I love it.
Yes, and you two
Yes, I know. I think that
You can
face
sit
I'm
there
making
and go to see something else.
is
Erik
because
and I
I
are
will.
going to be dancing in the streets.
yeah, well, Ryan, we might go to some counter programming. Directed by, Michael Gracie, director of The Greatest Showman, a film that I was not a fan of, is why I made the face, giving me pause a little bit. But I am curious, and like you said, Christina, right, this being a year of the out there musical, I'm so excited to see Emilia Pérez. I hope that we get that. I think all signs
And the
point to
end
yes.
also, we'll get
And
to
the
that one.
end, yes, exactly. So that was another world premiere possibility here that I think we all think is really likely coming from Neon, Joshua Oppenheimer. So an interesting thing here about this one, this is of course the musical about the end of the world, starring Tilda Swinton, George Mackay, and I realized that Joshua Oppenheimer, his past documentaries, so The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, are one of the executive producers on them was Werner Herzog. So it totally makes sense that this movie will world premiere at Telluride.
It'll
And
be
I
in
hope
the
it's
Herzog
bizarre. Yeah.
Well, I make no apologies because this is me not caring about Better Man. Like that's a movie that you guys can all go to together, and I'll go see.
Well, if he brings Kylie Minogue,
Don't
you
let
can come.
Go to the Dogs tonight or something bad like that. I'm curious about catching up on a lot of the Cannes titles that Christina has seen. I really want to see Emilia Pérez because it's going to be such a big player, I think, not just for Netflix but throughout the season. I'm really curious actually about I think we believe that the world premiere of the Nickel Boys is going to be here, and I am a huge fan of Colson Whitehead's novels, and that novel is wonderful. And it's already announced that it's going to open the New York Film Festival, but this is where it is going to first debut. And I think that it could be a really special film, based off the source material. I'm a little paused by Amazon and MGM have it. But I also look out for like Angelina Ellis-Taylor, who could be a big contender in the supporting actress category, which feels once again, like at this time every year, that category feels so wide open for somebody to come and take it. But it feels, like it was last year. And then we saw Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers, and it was a historic sweep after that. So I'm really looking forward to that film. And yeah, and Dee Dee Gardner is the producer on it, and Jeremy Kleiner. We all know what that team can do for awards campaigns. So he is kind of giving a little bit of, Moonlight vibes to it. Obviously, though, more established in the source material. But yeah, that's one of the top films that I am really excited to see at the festival.
Oh yeah, I mean, Ramel Ross is an extraordinary filmmaker, and I think
County.
Between Hale County was the best documentary of that year. And I think it's cool that we have these documentary filmmakers like him and Oppenheimer that are venturing into narrative features. And I think that it gives us an idea of, hopefully, their style is going to be non-traditional as well. Hopefully, as much as their docs are. I would prefer that over, maybe some other documentarians whose first features feel pretty boilerplate biopics and stuff like that. So I have high hopes for Nickel Boys and the end for that alone.
I'll go back
Nickel
to
Boys.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nickel
Sophia.
Boys, I just want to say I'm excited for because I love the novel so much. But if you think about that novel and Whitehead's writing style and how beautiful it is, paired with Ramel Ross's very impressionistic approach, I feel like that will be so important to, like in Hale County this evening, getting this very different approach to a place. And the setting is so important to that novel. So I'm very excited to see what they do there. And you bringing up Divine Joy Randolph, Ryan, where did she get her start last year?
Telluride.
We didn't know it at the time, but Telluride.
No, I think you and I
We
and
kind of
Christina,
did.
we saw that together, and I was blown away by her performance in that movie, and I think it's a great win, um, and it's really beautiful work. And so, and that's the thing this year. I know Eric didn't talk about this up at the front, but this is going to be an even different Telluride for Christina and Sophia because there were actually because of, there's no strike going on. The talent will actually be at this festival. They'll be at the screenings. They'll be at the Q&As more than the ones that had, permission because they were more independent. So like the bigger studios are going to be able to have, their parties, and they're going to be able to have their actors there for, photos and conversations. And it's going to be back to a regular old Telluride. And I'm really excited for you guys to be able to experience stuff like that because you never know who you're going to run into. And they are great experiences. But I wanted to go back to Conclave real quick because, and maybe this is just me being a little nervous because I've been reading the source material and I've been burned I think we've all been burned over the last couple of years by a movie that we think is going to do really, really well. And I am curious to see the film because it has this great ensemble of veteran actors. I'm all for a movie that has veteran actors at the forefront. But I also know that like this is feeling at the like slight hint of The Sun, where you have this really established director come out of the gate, break through, get a ton of Oscar noms and wins that no one expected early in the season,
Talking about
right?
Edward Berger.
Everett
Right
Berger
on the list for.
and Florian Zeller, right? And then we're so excited and we think the formula is going to work all over again. And then the movie is not as um, good as the last film, or it's a wild swing. And I am curious to see if they make some changes to the book outside of some character names that I've already noticed through doing the research. So it will be very interesting to see how that all plays out. But and yeah, I know it's going to be focused as big play and everything, but I'm worried about that. We were so lucky last year. I think this is really important to talk about. Last year we were very, very lucky in that there were so many great films. There weren't a lot of duds. There weren't a lot of movies that came in that we expected at the beginning of the season and kind of fell flat. And that's what I think 2023 is such a great year of films. It's like, we were like, damn, that's a good movie, and that's a good movie, and that's a good movie. And we were just adding them up like freaking infinity stones at that point. And now it's like, okay, are we going to go back to maybe where some of these big contenders might be a little bit more disappointing? I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Empire Light and Bardo were at Telluride, and those were supposed to be big things in the season and world premieres and expectations, and they kind of fell flat. So it is something to kind of consider, I think, guys, when we're talking about this year's, I think last year it was such a great year, but it feels like a little bit of an anomaly unless I'm just being pessimistic about things. I don't
You
know,
are being
Eric.
pessimistic.
I'm trying not to be. I want to like these things, but I also just got these weird feelings. You know how you get, Eric. You get
Mhm.
weird feelings about things every now and then, right?
Sure. I mean, I Conclave is my number one right now, kind of across the board in
Exactly.
early predictions.
That's terrifying.
Which are meaningless until we start seeing things
Yes.
and hearing things. But yeah, it could be completely wrong. But
I mean, it could be, but I also feel like something working in Conclave's favor as far as release strategy goes or festival runs is like Telluride does feel like the perfect place for it to launch if it is very straightforward. Because I think that's what I've been thinking about it is that, I'm also reading the book and Ryan and I have shared our, I think, similar concerns and just opinions about the book. And my fear, I guess, is just that it's going to be a very straightforward dramatic thriller, and
BG.
that's it. And for me, like All Quiet on the Western Front was a bit lower on my list of Oscar contenders that year. And there were certain scenes, and specifically in that film, the scenes that I didn't like were those scenes that were off the battlefield. They were the scenes in the offices and with those characters just talking to each other. And if that is the focus of this film, that style, I don't know how I feel about Edward Berger with that just yet, but I am so eager to see this. The ensemble, the theme of it, and just the story in general, I think is really intriguing. So it's definitely high up on my list. But yeah, it's also high up on my list because I want to see how it shakes out as an Oscar contender and what that looks like for it here.
Yeah. He's not writing the screenplay this go around, which is either good nor bad based off what Sophia just said. He's not producing the film. He's only directing it. So it'll be very interesting. And obviously that was such a surprise hit because, you know, Netflix had so many other films. Like I said, they had Bardo, they had Glass Onion. They had they were throwing things left and right. They had tried Pinocchio at one point, White Noise. So, but Focus is a great campaigner, and they have a great reputation at this festival. I mean, that's going back to the Holdovers. That's where that journey for that film began. You know, ultimately their sort of partner company, Universal, got the better of them with the bigger film last year, but they still had a relatively very good season for Giamatti and of course Randolph. So yeah.
I'm only about a third of the way through the book, but I can say that it feels like Lithgow, Tucci, I mean, they're great roles for them. I mean, I hear your concern, Sophia, because I feel a bit the same way about All Quiet on the Western Front, but I think that if he can really hone in the actors and let them do their thing, I haven't really gotten to, I'm kind of worried. I hope that there's more for Isabella Rossellini to do than that he may have written some more there or added some more there, but I think that there's some really good scenes there for the actors to chew on that I think will probably carry this through.
Mm-hmm. It feels like a perfect role for Ray Fiennes too.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Guy that it's going to be everywhere on the campaign for sure. And Lithgow too. And Tucci will cook for everyone. It'll be great.
Yes.
Well, Focus has a great relationship with Telluride, and they also are going to have Piece by Piece.
Now this one.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few
compared to Better Man.
There's quite a few animated films coming to Telluride, a lot.
As Pharrell would say, clap along if you don't want to see that movie.
And Piece by Piece is Morgan Neville directing the life of Pharrell Williams told through Lego animation. So
it feels like a studio trying not to lose the rights to like the idea of Legos in your movies. And they're like, well, what can we do? Well, let's just do a documentary and so we can keep the rights. It's
do you
so
know
weird.
The story behind this, Eric? Because we were talking about it on my show last week. What's the thing with Lego? Are they paying for it? Is Pharrell Williams have some sort of special relationship with it? Why?
The thing about Lego is you build them. And so I think the idea of using Legos to build a movie is fascinating, right?
So insightful, Ryan, to Christina's question.
We have Morgan Neville, the Steve Martin doc, the Bourdain, 20 Years from Storm, all these things that he's done around people. Incredible, like, of course, the Fred Rogers doc, incredible work he's done digging into someone's life. I don't understand this.
20 Feet from Stardom too.
Well, I think mine is a cynical approach, which is what Ryan was alluding to, which is just the rights. It's all wrapped up in the rights to Lego films. And that's really the only reason why. But I've seen this trailer approximately 25 times before every single movie this summer. And everyone ignores it. I swear. It's really
wild. This is, I mean, the cast, the voice cast, everyone is playing themselves as well. Snoop Dogg, Gwen Stefani, Justin Timberlake, Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, Kendrick Lamar. It's
Kendrick's in this? Oh man. Can't wait for the Lego They're Not Like Us
There's a
section of the
lot.
film.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
What if they're all at Telluride?
Oh my God.
Well, then.
Well, Drake's
In
not going to
Lego.
be. I'll tell you that. If that's the case.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just read this to you guys. After a previous license holder, Warner Brothers Pictures, which produced the Lego movie franchise, let the rights to create Lego Space Lego Film Labs, Universal Pictures bought them in April 2020 to last them through 2025. So this totally feels like that. And then also Pharrell just wanting to make something different than just your regular standard biopic. They did a lot of these interviews in 2020, 2021 because of COVID. And so they kind of use this material, to then use it in animated form. I will say though, this about the trailer, Lego Snoop Dogg is my favorite thing about it. Cause it's just like, how are they going to do animated weed? That'll be fascinating to see how that turns out. Will Martha Stewart make an appearance, and will they be dressed in dressage?
Oh, I would love if Martha Stewart made an appearance here.
It also, Daft Punk is in the film, which is that's really interesting. Once again, Daft Punk's link, like the links they'll go to not actually show their face. So,
well, and the crazy thing to me is that this is not the only project of the life of Pharrell Williams coming out.
Isn't there one at TIFF?
We also have the Michel Gondry film, the live action, that has maybe the greatest cast that we're going to have like in the next couple of years. It has Brian Tyree Henry, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Janelle Monáe, Devon Joy Randolph, Halle Bailey, Quinta Brunson. It's really wild that he has 2 biopics.
Good for Pharrell. I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, I don't know enough about Pharrell.
Well, you will now.
I will now. Actually, you know what? Kind of need a trilogy. Let's go. So, I don't know. I'm the worst. I'm the worst person. But the other film I am curious about is Netflix other player, and speaking of player, The Piano Lesson, which I can't help myself, folks. They just write themselves, which is the new adaptation of the August Wilson play. It's directed by Malcolm Washington, who's Denzel Washington's son, and stars John David Washington, Daniel Detweiler, and of course, reprising his role from the stage is Samuel L. Jackson. This is supposed to be the big let's push Samuel L. Jackson supporting actor contender this year. We all know who Samuel L. Jackson is. It's 30 years since Pulp Fiction, and that's the last time he was nominated. Hasn't come close since, which is ridiculous.
Would it be medallion time?
I think a medallion is definitely in the works.
Mm-hmm.
I think a career retrospective. It's going to really be great to see like his work all up on the screen and everything, and all the various films. Can't wait for Snakes on a Plane at Telluride. And yeah, I'm excited about it. Erik, you've seen the trailer for it, and some early stuff already. We know some people that have talked about it behind the scenes. Don't want to get too much into it, but we've heard good and bad. I'm excited by it just because, Malcolm Washington, the Washington family should all be there.
Yeah.
Potentially.
This was
Denzel Washington's
project.
daughter is in it as well.
Yeah, she's in it too.
And he's producing.
And he's producing.
He's
So
part of his.
I'm
his
so
whole...
looking forward.
So
to it.
Denzel, please come to Telluride. I won't bug you too much about Crimson Tide and Deja Vu. All right, just come hang out with us.
I promise to ask nothing but questions about Gladiator 2.
Yeah, we won't ask about the costume on Paul Mescal. All right.
No, he can never listen to our Crimson Tide episode where I do about 5 minutes on his workout routine scene. So,
yeah. There you go.
Exactly. He's going to put cases on all of us. But I mean, I'm very curious about that film. And because...
I think we have a couple more likely world premieres. The Friend with Naomi Watts.
The dog movie.
Well, one of them, yes. But it's Scott McGee and David Siegel, who I absolutely love. I think The Deep End is one of the best movies of the 2000s.
Watch as you dive in.
absolutely loved that movie. So I'm looking forward to it, even though it is Naomi Watts, who is my arch enemy. Not really.
It'll be great to see you guys like get in the Telluride ring and battle each other out for world domination. Like,
We're gonna end up being like super besties, I can tell.
yeah,
that.
exactly. I feel like you're gonna be like gin and tonics. You know, so.
And then a couple more, which was briefly sort of mentioned earlier, and that's Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, which can't wait to hear that title just fumbled constantly.
Yeah,
That's going to be the tongue twister
It
of the
is.
year.
It is. It's
I think you could do just a review on the title
directed
alone.
it, stars in it. I'll just read the brief description and we'll see where it goes from there.
Is it as jumbled as the title?
Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight thrusts us into the tumultuous world of 8-year-old Bobo, whose childhood unfolds on her family's Rhodesian farm, now Zimbabwe, as the Bush War rages to its bitter end. Set against
Bobo.
this violent backdrop, as seen through her eyes, we witness the family's desperate attachment to Africa's soil and the deep festering scars of war that reshapes both land and soil. Let me say I am terrified at the idea of a movie of this white family in Rhodesia as war rages on around them. My interest in it's not high.
Yeah. It's based on a memoir, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which, you
Bobo
know,
Even if
sounds
it's
like
not
a
Lego.
Bobo sounds like a background character for Joker 2.
yeah, so that's we'll see. You know, it could be great.
Well,
But
some of us might see. You're not going to see.
I will see anything that's a world premiere. Are you kidding? Yeah, anything that's
Really? Anything?
Yeah. Time if I have time, absolutely. Yes, of course.
Man, anything.
The other
You heard it here
major
first.
world premiere that we're going to see is Jason Reitman's Saturday Night.
You're not doing it right.
What?
You're
Here
not
he
saying
goes.
it right. It's Saturday Night
Great.
from Jason Reitman, Gabriel LaBelle, Rachel Sennett, Cooper Hoffman, and Dylan O'Brien. Musical guest. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. Nicholas Braun playing 2 roles, and Willem Dafoe.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I'm thankful.
You're welcome. There you go.
Yes. Anyway, Saturday night. It's going to be at Toronto, weirdly, not New York as of yet. But yeah, it will hit Telluride first. An interesting choice. He's definitely had a lot of films here. He is a friend of the festival as well. But it feels strange that it's going to be
strange.
here.
It does feel strange.
It has that massive ensemble.
It fits the rest of the lineup, honestly.
So I'll be interested to see how many of them show up for the festivities and screenings and everything else.
Oh, I expect most of that cast to be there.
I think most of them will be there as well.
Mom, I've never been to Telluride. Okay, Rachel, you can go this year. You know.
Oh my God.
You know, it's little Gabriel LaBelle. You know, hands up here on the hips. You know, walking down the streets of Telluride. I can see Sammy Fableman flying in. You know what I mean?
I hope we see Sammy at the airport.
Exactly, for sure. I'm interested in it. I mean, I'm also frustrated by it because it sounds like it's not a secret, folks. Just gonna put that out there. Saturday Night Live is still a thing, and it feels so. It'll be interesting also to see this cast and which performances come out of it. There was a trailer that came out. I was kind of like mixed on it. There was a poster that came out, which was kind of giving like almost Animal House vibes to it. You know, it's a mad world.
I love the poster.
Hundreds of beavers.
The poster is fantastic.
From earlier this year, kind of did that same thing too. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a really. Eric's going to hate me saying this, he's gonna hate me saying this because he hates this phrase, but it feels like a crowd pleaser for a Saturday night, literally on the nose. And the audience there at Telluride will probably have a really good time with it. But will we like it? I don't know. Remains to be seen. I mean, it is Reitman working with his Ghostbusters co-writer, not Diablo Cody. It sounds very, honestly, it sounds like very Sorkin-y, very Steve Jobs-esque. So I don't know. Well, you judge that by your mileage of Steve Jobs and Aaron Sorkin, I guess.
I think in context of SNL turning 50, Lorne Michaels maybe leaving, the elections come, I think it's going to be a celebration of the whole thing at Telluride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Years of importance.
Yeah. I do like all in one night or all in one day movies, those sorts of like slice of life, or when it's contained to a particular amount of time. I feel like that's a plot device that I tend to like. And I don't know. I'm not usually, I feel like I'm saying this with so many people that are at Telluride this year, so I feel bad, but not usually a huge Reitman person. But I do think this will be fun, even if I don't think it's a masterpiece. But who knows? I love this time period too. So
yeah,
I could be a fan.
LaBelle looks fantastic in this. I mean, I have hopes for this.
Yeah, I'm more enthusiastic about it than cautious for it. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase too. I'm very excited for what's going on there.
I am too, and definitely from the snippet in the trailer, we're getting asshole Chevy Chase, which I love.
So just Chevy Chase.
But there is some really good, clever casting.
Yeah.
Even if there's some weird aging, because like LaBelle's 21 and Lorne Michaels was 31 at this point.
You think he's gonna do Dr. Evil voice? Like,
I don't know. Right.
You know? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think it's a little I don't know. I would be more interested actually in the ensemble of actors that are playing the original characters like you're mentioning there. And I don't know. It's that thing of what we talk about where it's like everyone in this cast clearly knows what an iPhone is. And so it's kind of hard to separate that with a period piece like this. But, if it's just fun and entertaining and a little bit thrilling, like, and it's going to have those wigs, then we'll see how it all plays out. So.
I want to run through some other titles that are going to be expected there that are coming in from other festivals. Maria from Venice is going to be one of the very few crossovers of major titles. And it's still, we could do an entire conversation just about that, but we will talk in a little bit about that lack of crossover. We should see from Cannes All We Imagine Is Light and The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Misericordia, which is hitting like literally every single festival. Flow, which is the Black Cat animated film that just dropped a trailer pretty recently from Janice and Sideshow. Emilia Pérez, which we mentioned. And another.
Can I just say how fun it's going to be to see Emilia Pérez with you guys? I mean, I loved it, and I cannot wait to
I
see
need
your
it.
reactions
to
it because I don't know. I mean, I don't think everyone's going to be, but I cannot wait.
I'm not like crazy even for Jacques Audiard like all the time. I think sometimes he's a big no from me. Like deep hand, no thank you. But
yeah.
We'll
I think
see.
your miles would vary on it, but I mean it sounds so fascinating, and it's a must see for me on the
There are definitely some titles that we're absolutely not going to see based on designations and timing with Venice, like Joker 2, The Brutalist, Queer, Night Bitch, The Room Next Door, Hard Truths. It's a lot. There's a lot of major titles.
Beetlejuice.
Sure.
You know,
But
Uh,
Queer is my big disappointment.
yeah,
Hmm.
especially since it's going to be everywhere else and like skipping,
same with
skipping.
The Room Next Door.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and I think maybe we can just dive just a little bit into that, and that is that we have traditionally seen an enormous amount of Venice to Telluride crossover in years past. Uh, but this year feels especially heady. Um, and Barbera and his team scheduling so many things until well after Telluride's run, quite intentionally. And it's
petty.
yeah, it is.
Hmm.
It's an extremely petty move. His interview, I think it was with the Hollywood Reporter,
Mm-hmm.
was says a lot about him, I think, and how he's okay with the other men that run the festivals at TIFF and at New York, but is threatened by the female staff that runs the Telluride Film Festival, it seems like, and uh, weighs this enormous power that goes straight to his head. And I think it's a real shame because it's like I mean, I get that Venice is a very beautiful place and it's a wonderful place to premiere films as well, but it also feels like you're making and choosing only to put things in a certain place out of selfishness. And I think that that's really, for what the lineup looks like for Telluride, this is not normally usually how it is. Though I will say this might be a 1 year, to just be a little bit optimistic, I guess. It might be a 1 year thing. The strikes, I think, do play a little bit of a factor into the lineups for TIFF being so strong and also for Venice's strong comeback because they didn't have as many red carpets as they did last year, didn't have as many stars as they did last year, didn't have as many big films to, you know, other than like the directors to mostly promote. Those are like A24 films. So there is that. But it is very, for lack of a better word, it is kind of fucked up to not allow these movies to cross over, which has been part of the bread and butter of these two film festivals coexisting in the same space. And it's not, I think, within the good nature of celebrating cinema, and not fair to those filmmakers or to those teams in order to get prizes or for festival goers in general. But if those battle lines want to get crossed, then after this year, it's going to get even worse probably than it could be. So we'll see. Also, there is no guarantee that all these movies are going to be good. Again, there's always the chance of that some of these, flop. I'm not saying that the titles, Eric, that you mentioned, but when also Barbera goes and makes all these grandiose statements, and they're about the brutalists and queer and Joker 2 and all these things, and I mean it's putting those expectations on those movies that probably they aren't asking for. So,
Yeah. Well, in that the Vanity Fair
oh,
interview,
was it Vanity Fair? I'm sorry.
no, it's there might have been another one too, but in the Vanity Fair one specifically, he says like he doesn't even address Telluride. He's asked about it and he swerves and won't even answer questions about it. It's like he obviously knows that it exists, but he won't address that. He's saying it's not as big of a player. And for me, I agree, Christina, like Queer was the biggest disappointment because of Luca Guadagnino's relationship to Telluride. I think that him having films that have premiered there before, it would have made sense for that film, which by all accounts he's very proud of and is this hugely ambitious film for him. Could have been a great tribute.
Remember, I mean, isn't it Barbera's last year? I mean, he's out, right, for the right wing government to put in someone new. He
Oh,
could
that'll
take a
be
Fascinating.
look
fun.
against. Sorry?
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
that's gonna be hard. And also he probably just called Luca and said, "Look, you're coming
Well,
to mine."
yeah. I mean, also too, Pedro Almodovar being a big, has a big presence most of the time at Telluride. I mean, he just had that short that I've still not seen last year, and that played everywhere. And even The Room Next Door not being at Telluride, it just feels like there's a film or two missing. And I mean, Joker, that's not one. You know what I mean? Night Bitch, obviously, that is a clear TIFF selection, and it makes total sense because they're giving Amy Adams a prize. Hard Truths is actually kind of shocking. It's one, Eric, I think you were shocked by that it didn't have a Telluride to Toronto, but we've heard a lot of film festivals turn that thing down. And TIFF doesn't turn anything down. I've seen that quality of some of those films. But The Brutalist was another one too. I don't know how you like, we would have loved to seen The Brutalist. It's a 4-hour movie though, to be able to program it in such a short amount of time at that film festival. I think that hurts that film's chance.
Yeah, I mean, in 3 days, it can be difficult. It's not going to get a prime slot at that time. But yeah. Well, that kind of then leads us into what we think could show up, whether it's a previous festival appearance this year, or maybe something completely new as a world premiere that we aren't expecting yet. There definitely have been surprises, as we've seen in the past, and the schedule always has TBA, so there are empty spots, and then those films are revealed on the app while we are at the festival. It happened last year with La Chimera. It happened with Aftersun, and very famously a few years ago, Jolie stole Belfast from Toronto, who had already printed and amped it up as a world premiere. I don't think we're going to see that anymore, but I mean, if you want petty, that was a pretty petty move and pretty awesome, actually. But I want to throw to you guys what you think might show up from other festivals and maybe as a world premiere. Christina, what do you think?
I have no idea, but I want to ask what you think about Baby Girl.
No, because
there's no chance, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, it's got North American premiere status for TIFF, as do a handful of things like Megalopolis as well. So we won't see that here. Dahomey, the Berlin winner, won't be here. Grand Tour from Cannes won't be here. The Apprentice is the thing that's on my list that I think is going to be here.
Yeah, it's on my list too. I have my two that I've been thinking about are The Apprentice and The Outrun. Just because, that did come out at Sundance, but if they do want to push Saoirse there as a Best Actress contender, and I think it could make sense to just appear at Telluride.
Yeah.
The Apprentice, though's the weirder one.
You've got to get someone to come to the Sony Pictures Classics dinner. So
right. There you go.
We got to get Saoirse in town.
So I have two films.
Mm-hmm.
One I think is more likely to happen, and the other one would be very interesting as a surprise. Okay, they're from the same studio, and the studio usually has a very big presence. And on your sheet, Eric, you don't have Searchlight, so I think A Real Pain is a film that will totally be in this.
It's on my separate list to talk about right now.
But Eric, if we got a trailer and we got a poster and we know that this thing turned around real quick, I mean, nothing sounds better than a little Bob Dylan up in the mountains. All right. And I know it's a long shot, but I'm telling you, as a surprise to take, it is the only movie right now. I mean, because Gladiator 2, that's not a thing. Some of the bigger blockbusters are not a thing, but that one, man, to just have like a one-off, like we just finished kind of putting it all together in the edit kind of thing. Searchlight gets Timmy out there, gets Mangold out there. I could see it happening as a big last second surprise. to, you know, to maybe get it out there. And Searchlight, again, if that's the big player that they have, their last big player last year, Poor Things, went over from Venice to then Telluride and got a medallion last year. And so I wouldn't put it, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's the only one of those other movies like, that are remaining that don't have any festival presence that I could see coming here. If it doesn't, totally understand. It's a December release and that's fine. But like, there's a bunch of other films that you could talk about, like Wicked or Here or Juror Number Two and all these other films that are not going to either be here or like Here has a perfect, hey, AFI Film Festival written all over it. You know what I mean? Opening night film. So, yeah, a complete unknown. Bob Dylan and Saturday Night Live, the same place.
So, it isn't going to happen, but
I know it's not going to happen. That's why I said it was a long wish.
It would be great if it happened just to prove
people wrong,
a single pundit wrong for being so assertive in it not being there.
Well, that's why I'm bummed about Beetlejuice.
But like literally, we're recording this August 19th. Yeah. They just had their first test screening on August 8th. Yeah. So I heard a lot about it. And I mean, it is a long way from edit, and there were, green screen scenes in it still, just placeholder stuff. So it's a ways away. So
that's fair.
It would be beyond shocking for it to premiere here. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. I'd love it, but it feels way too early,
way too quick. No, I get it. I was just saying is that studio has an impeccable presence at this festival.
Yeah, and that's why I agree that I think a real pain will be there. That is, I think, an easy call for here.
Erik, can I ask a question to you specifically about the past? Mm-hmm. Has there ever been like a preview? Like not a full film premiere, but maybe like
a work in progress,
or like a preview of like footage, like some other festivals do that. Like, Cannes has done that in the past, and
I can't think of any.
No, I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't put it past to put like we have like an hour,
because usually by the time we get to the fall festivals, they're done. I mean, something that can make sense because it's the middle of the year.
Yeah,
but by the time we get to here, things are locked.
I just thinking about that Oscar campaign and trying here. Yeah. So
anyway, yes.
No. I was just asking. I didn't know if that's happened in the past or not. You know what I mean?
I couldn't off the top of my head.
Okay.
I was thinking about things that are coming out in October. So I also do expect to see the lineup filled out with things from Sundance and other places like Exhibiting Forgiveness, Union. I think The Remarkable Life of Ibelin will be there. Will and Harper, I think will be there. Parthenope from Cannes. And Sophia, you and I mentioned The Apprentice, which is out of Berlin, which tentatively has an October release from Briarcliff in the US, which still seems up in the air. Mm-hmm. I feel like that will be here.
In the year,
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Apprentice was at Cannes. I saw it
there.
Cannes, yes. Yeah. Did I say Berlin? The one film I think that we might be able to see that we haven't mentioned and would be a world premiere would be The Actor.
Oh. My brain went to Nosferatu, which is not happening. But
no, I don't think it would be there. But
is that Universal?
Focus.
Is that Focus? Oh,
it's Focus. Yeah, I think The Actor could be the one that's outside that we're not seeing yet, but just as I don't know, kind of an outside. Neon also has an incredible presence at Telluride and good parties. Just like A24, good parties and a good presence, but it's not feeling so much this year. It's odd.
It is odd. I'm telling you, it feels like there's a film or two off. I think honestly, I feel like they might even know that as well, and that's why there might be a surprise or two that we're not thinking about. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
We did talk a little bit about medallions and tributes earlier and named two people that I think that we think are getting them.
Pharrell.
Samuel Jackson. And I think we talked about this on a previous pod too. Jason Reitman clearly is getting a medallion with Saturday Night being there.
You know,
And Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
So they do
What about
three.
Sean Baker?
Baker makes a lot of sense.
Odiard.
Maybe
I mean,
it's gonna be three. So we've got those are five names. So if you had to pick between those five, who would be the three that you think are absolutely getting in?
I
Same-
think they'll do two actors and one director. Angelina Jolie and Sam Jackson, especially I think coming off of the strike, and those two names just completely make sense. And then for me, coin flip between Reitman and Baker, but leaning Reitman.
and I know that's very American, and they do like to go international. I mean, like, you know, and world cinema is a big. I think Odiard would make a lot of sense.
Andrea
as
Arnold is there too.
Andrea Arnold too. Emilia Pérez getting a prize like that, but then also too, celebrate A Prophet and Sisters Brothers and Deepan and a lot of films that have been celebrated before, and so it feels like that might be the right place. And then Sam Jackson and Angelina Jolie. Those are I think if anybody that is another actor outside of those two get tributes there, I would be shocked to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be as well. This is kind of
Unless it's like Ray Fiennes or one of the Conclave Collective, as well too. Like
maybe, but
but definitely it's going to be Jolie because she is flying. I mean, Barbera did literally spill the beans on that. Yeah, they're flying over to Telluride. That was the one time he mentioned it. So they are going to fly.
Another dick
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, it was a very
By
dick
Barbera.
move. So I do think that is for sure locked in. The other two, not so much though. Netflix, they are great at least trying to secure one of those. I mean, like they had Annette Bening, for it last year, and that's kind of where the Sam Jackson idea fits in there as a veteran actor who hasn't gotten their celebration yet, leading to a nomination, and then we'll see about a win as the season goes on. But
And
Annette,
Neville wouldn't surprise me.
oh, Neville, that yeah.
I mean, he's
You know what? Just make it 5 medallions this year. Just everybody gets one. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think Odiard might.
Robbie
be the one.
Williams gets one.
Oh my God. Oh,
Christina, no.
no. Christina.
In Lego.
Oh, they hand him the medallion, but it's in Legos. Oh, that would be
Oh my
so
God.
cool. Oh my God.
Please do not. No.
Everything is awesome, folks.
That is crazy. That's crazy. A question I want to put forth to you guys, because it's something I've been thinking about, is Telluride has been such a major force in the Oscar race for a long period of time, and went through like over a decade where if you didn't play Telluride, you didn't have to play first, but if you didn't at least play there, you were not likely going to be a Best Picture winner. And so it really had a lot of force behind it. But the last 3 years, the Best Picture winners have not played Telluride. And two of them, no fall presence whatsoever. So do we think that Telluride is kind of losing its impact in the Oscar race? Because 3 years in a row that's becomes a thing. Anybody?
I mean, I'll go if no one will. Eric's like, please keep it short, Ryan. Um, I think so, but I think that that's just the trend though, with an expanding group of voters, international voters. Um, I mean, it doesn't help when you have like the kind of lineups that we're talking about here, and there doesn't seem to be a best picture inside of there. The momentum for these films the last 2 years for Everything Everywhere All at Once and Oppenheimer were huge, and they expanded into multiple categories, and they had their own narratives, and they were big hits. And to be fair, Michelle Yeoh did have a presence at the Telluride Film Festival that year, and that was strategically to help her in best actress, but also to spread awareness for that film, I think, as well too. And it was throughout the regional festivals as well. And same goes for, I think it's just a longer game now. I mean, Middleburg and Mill Valley and AFI and Savannah, they are interview hotspots to start campaigning. And maybe that takes away from the specialness of Telluride and those first couple of fests. I don't know. Um, it is a very open year, though, you know, more open than I think
also
even the
think
last
it's
couple of years.
It's a business thing. I also think the strikes, these past 3 years, everything that's happening to theatrical, I mean, you can see the major changes in the industry and everything that's happened. I think it's so much harder to predict at the moment. Maybe when everything settles down a bit, and both in terms of work and in terms of just getting back on track again, maybe it'll come back. But at the moment, I think it has a lot to do with how the industry looks in general.
I think with as far as how it matters in the Oscar race, less so maybe with Best Picture, just because of what you both said. But I think if you just look at the tributes and you look at that as a campaign starting point or continuation, really, they do matter. Because if you just see those names, it's like they might not connect with Best Picture winners, but you have, Sarah Polley. She ended up winning screenplay for Women Talking. Cate Blanchett dominated the season until she didn't. Jane Campion she swept Best Director. Anthony Hopkins and Chloe Zhao. So if you look, I think there, last year was an anomaly with the strike, but if you look there, directors and actors.
Naiad.
But also
How
to
could I
your point,
forget?
Sophia, Poor Things, if there was a runner-up to Oppenheimer, it was probably Poor Things. It won the second most Oscars last year.
Yeah. So I think while it's not like the winner isn't screaming there necessarily, those are places to look for individual campaigns.
Yeah. And to be fair, again, this year does not seem to have a film in the first half of the year that will break through. So that could, I mean, like Emilia Pérez and Conclave and Anora are here potentially in this lineup. Those are films that will be considered in this race. So, Nickel Boys.
Is Angelina Jolie? Angelina Jolie. Does she get the Volpe Cup and the tribute, and that's it, right?
That would be wild because
then she just goes through.
She'd premiere in Venice, fly to Telluride, and then have to go back to Venice
if she wins.
It's called back. It's going to be a busy week for her
if she wins the Volpe Cup. To be fair,
yes,
yeah,
because Lady Gaga's sitting right there. Probably I do. I'm just saying.
I do want to hear Isabelle Huppert say "Folie à deux"
and roll her eyes to the back of her head.
It's really all I want.
Yes,
but no, I think it's a really good question, Erik, and I think it's it's like Christina said, a trend, But comes back around.
In looking at release times, and to your point about the first half of the year, doesn't seem like it has the contender. It does feel like we're going back to a fall release and a very traditional footing for an awards campaign. So I think we're sort of going back in that direction. And hey, if Conclave is the Best Picture winner, then been right all along. And Telluride wins, and Julie gets.
You've been saying that since I don't know.
May.
It makes sense on paper.
Yeah,
But
it totally makes sense on paper. And
yeah.
I'm sure Julie will say we've got the best picture winner. And again, we'll see.
To be fair, it's been also a while since one of those chalk picks on paper for like a year has played out.
Oh yeah,
So
everything's
it
different.
could be that. And also it's just about passion too. Like you look at last year, I think of a film like Anatomy of a Fall. I think it really picked up its steam at when we saw it at Telluride, the way that the audiences and the screenings were jam packed, having to turn people away. I think that carried throughout all the festivals, and and so it'll be interesting to see if that effect happened. It was very much kind of like how Parasite was, where it was like that is the movie we all have to see. Will that happen again or will it won't? That'll be something to look out for too. It's about passion again.
Yeah. Um, I want to wrap up just asking. Well, I was going to ask a silly question, but we're trying to keep this like not like a long podcast, but I'm going to make
It's
You
a
have to
regular
ask the silly question.
it's a
gonna-
regular
anyway.
Sunday
I'm going to
episode.
make you answer this question anyway. Which Telluride movie will make Eric cry this year?
Can
I
I
have
just say
two.
I had my year's cry with you last year. We cried so much together in All of Us Strangers.
We-
I mean, I was
We
just
really did. It was something.
but and I turned out with my red puffy eyes and walked right into glamorous Dakota Johnson. So yeah, we'll probably redo that.
Yeah.
You are the reason I did my packing list the other night and I put tissues on it because I remember wiping my eyes with an old COVID mask from my bag. That is how horrible it was during All of Us Strangers. I have two movies that I think will make you cry, a serious one and then one that I just think is funny. But the first is Maria. I feel like if you were, moved by Spencer, I think Maria will probably have a similar effect in knowing when it takes place in her life. And the other one is Flo because it's a cat movie.
It's such an easy call, but yeah, I mean, Flo, it doesn't, even if it's happy or sad, it will probably
Yeah.
won't matter. It's just
Mhm.
gorgeous and it's a black cat, and that's going to hit me.
Exactly.
I think Eric could cry at Nickel Boys. I think if it's done the right way and
I will.
the elegance of it, I think that there could be something there where, we're all having to pat Eric on the back and be like, they're there. It's okay.
I'm so shocked that you provided a genuine answer and not like Piece by Piece or the dog movie.
See, I wanted to answer the question. What are you talking about? Jokes?
Or
I don't
Better
make those
Man.
on this show. Yeah, or actually, it's going to be "Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight."
That's what I just said. Yeah, that's
Be like, I still don't understand the title. What the
that's
hell?
the ticket.
So-
All dogs go to hell or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Real short. I want to wrap up with asking you guys what you're most excited to see at Telluride, if obviously all of our predictions come true.
Okay.
Christina, what do you got?
Nickel Boys. I think it's my number one. I really want to see that. Definitely Maria. I think this trilogy that he's done with the women is just fascinating. Jackie was. I still go back to that. I think it's amazing, and it sort of ends up with Maria Callas, who Onassis famously left for Jackie. So that'll be interesting, and I think it's gonna be. I wasn't as high on Spencer as you were, Eric, but I think it's gonna be really interesting to see that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Anora as well, because I left Cannes, so that's the one I missed, and that broke my heart. So I'm gonna be first in line to finally see that. I love Sean Baker. I think everyone was so excited about that movie. So those three.
Ryan.
So it's Oppenheimer season again because I cannot wait to see the end and what Joshua Oppenheimer is going to do there. I think that it sounds really ambitious, and I mean it's still a Swinton in the musical, guys. Like, come on, like who doesn't want to fucking see that? I am really Nickel Boys is very high on the list. Emilia Pérez, though, that is the one. Inject that film into my eyeballs. And I am so excited to see those performances. And you know, Odiard is, a like you said, Eric, a director that can go back and forth with me, but I'm really, really curious what that movie's going to do. And I haven't seen the trailer, so I'm trying to go in as blind as possible to that thing.
Yeah, I'm, not terribly original. Maria is probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Nickel Boys and the end, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, where you have documentary filmmakers whose nonfiction films are very non-traditional, and I want to see what they bring to narrative features. And if they have that same type of, a little bit of abstractness to make it, a little less staid and obvious. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to most. And Emilia Pérez.
It's interesting. Besides these big, crazy out there musicals that we have ahead of us, there's also quite a theme of the end of the world. With The End, Flow is also about that. There's a huge
Yes.
TV series by Winterberg coming to Venice, which also is about a big catastrophe and a few families that end up there. So these past few years, the directors have been thinking about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm also excited to see potentially, if it's there, which premiere designations have led us to believe. Disclaimer, the Apple show from Alfonso Cuarón with Cate Blanchett. I mean, the DPs on this, Lubezki is on it too. I want to see what this is all about. And of course, Maria, because I'm very hot and cold on Pablo Larraín films, but just the stills of this, knowing Ed Lachman shot it and just seeing Angelina Jolie in that role, I think will be really incredible.
Yeah, I agree. That wraps up for this edition of our festival potting, and we're going to be back live in Telluride to do one. And I'm pretty sure it'll be a much shorter one. It usually is when we podcast from Telluride live. But yeah, thank you everybody. And please, Sophia, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim, letterboxed at Faye Dunaway. You can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, wherever you find podcasts. We have a very exciting award season themed episode coming very soon that we just recorded, so I'll tease that. And you can find reviews, interviews, and more podcasts at AwardsWatch.
And Ryan, what about you?
You can find me in the mountains of Telluride, looking for food in between screenings, because it's, maybe sharing a popcorn with friends. Or you can just find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. And if you like podcasts, we have the Director Watch Podcast. We will still have an episode out during Telluride, and I believe it is The Thin Red Line is that episode. It was a great episode. And so I hope you'll enjoy that. And also sign up for the newsletter. It's going to be the great place to get all festival reviews, podcasts, everything this season. And please sign up for that. Eric will try to put that together throughout the season. We'll be so busy. I don't know how many times he's going to be able to do it, but please sign up for that.
Yeah, best of luck getting me to get a newsletter out on
Friday.
First day of the festival, but no, I should be able to, because we'll have Venice underway. But
well, in the morning,
I won't be sleeping for 5 days, but that's cool.
Yeah.
You can find me obviously at awardswatch.com, on Twitter at awards_watch, and awardswatch everywhere else. And Christina, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, at Christina Biro, and my podcast is Pop Culture Confidential, with a whole bunch of interviews and festival news I have with the amazing Carla Sofia Gascon from Emilia Pérez, who I interviewed right after Cannes. And so anything you want to find, go listen to that as well. And you guys are on often as well. Best shows.
I love watching your stuff on Swedish TV too, so it's just fun. I definitely check it out. Yes, thanks everybody for joining today, and thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, we'll see you next time.